Yeah, my first encounter with HIV/AIDS was when I was in elementary, and they had some people come and talk to us. I think I was in middle school, actually, either 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, and they had some people come into our school to talk to us about HIV/AIDS, and I remember not knowing anything about it, and I remember shaking the men's hands and then actually being scared because I didn't know if I could get it through shaking someone's hand or not. That was my first encounter with HIV/AIDS, that a long time ago. And then, seeing things on the news and hearing things very secondhand, very indirectly, never really having to have a more intimate experience with someone who had HIV, who was HIV positive. And then, cut to many years later, when I was around 28, 29, 30 years old, living in New York City, and I started dating, online dating, and I ran across a guy who, we were on our second date, and I was really feeling him, and he was feeling me, and then he dropped me off back at the apartment, and he told me he was positive, and my heart just sank. But I told him, I needed to think about it. I had never encountered this before. I wasn't sure, but I needed to think about it. But I knew as soon as I got out of the car that I didn't want to date him. And for me, it was just fear. It was fear and lack of education and lack of exposure and experience with someone who was HIV positive. So I just didn't know enough to know that I could date this wonderful man, and he could be positive and I could be negative, and we could work it out. It could be okay, So a few years after that, I met someone else, and I had a stronger attraction and a stronger connection to this person. And about 2 weeks into us getting to know each other, he told me he was positive, and I felt completely different. And I think it was because I was more attracted to this man. And I started doing research. I started, going online. I started asking friends about it, and I learned that there were many people who were together where one was positive and one was negative, and they'd been together for years, and it can work. So I actually told him that it didn't make any difference to me, and I wanted to continue getting to know him. And it was interesting. It was more of a problem for him than it was for me. He had only been diagnosed a year before we met, and it was still very hard for him. And he was scared to death that he was going to give me HIV. So even, we never had sex, we never fooled around, we were never naked together, but we kissed a few times. And he would become so anxious and so worried that even kissing, he might give me something, and he said he wouldn't be able to forgive himself if he gave me HIV. And I tried to reassure him, but he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for a relationship because of his own fear around the HIV and his own struggle with it. So, yeah, those are my stories. And I'd say that I'm much more educated now than I was in the past. And I'm very aware of the fact that it's not a death sentence, and that it's possible to enjoy life whether you're HIV positive or someone who is in a relationship with an HIV positive person. Life goes on, and life is beautiful and amazing if that's what you make it.